Coming up in the morning edition, that age-old question is there: corruption in the Junkanoo judging, Paradise Fisheries catches a fire, and a new sewer system for New Providence. Good morning to all of you. I'm LaDawn Davis, and this is the Morning Edition. Thank you so much for waking up with us. And joining us live here on the Morning Edition to tell us how things are shaping up weather-wise for the week is Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean. Good morning, Basil.
Good morning, LaDawn. This is this tower cam showing near clear skies are there despite the fact that we have a cold front heading this way. It's pretty dry. We'll tell you more about that later in the newscast. But outside of our studios, we're showing near clear skies as we saw on the tower cam. Temperature, a very cool 64 degrees, relative humidity right up there at 93%, and calm winds, biometric pressure 1,019.8 millibars, that's 30.12 inches, and it is steady. Temperatures around the islands this morning: 68 degrees in Freeport, Grand Bahama, Green Key, and Marsh Harbor. As we take you into the Berry Islands, 72, 74 degrees in Allenstown, Bimini, 73 in Harbor Island, Roxanne, Luttrell, 72 in Otterstown, Cat Island, Staniel Key at 69, also Camp Space on Andros at 69, Fresh Creek in Central Andros at 71 degrees. In San Salvador and Rum Key, 72 degrees, 76 in Clarenstown, Long Island, Ragged Island, Betsy Bay, Maguana, Acklands, and Machitan in Agua de Turks and Caicos Islands at 77 degrees. Your boating forecast for today in the northwest and central islands: winds going to be west ahead of that front, but they will shift out of the northwest once that front system goes through. Speeds around 10 to 15 knots, wave heights 2 to 4 feet. Low tide 7:26 this morning. The high tide will take place at 1:21 in the afternoon. For the southeast Bahamas, light and variable winds can be expected. That's going to do it for your first look at weather the morning edition. Stay tuned. Your forecast for today and tonight is still ahead.
Thanks a lot, Basil. See you later on in the newscast. Meanwhile, traffic reporter Sieska Adderley is standing by with traffic cops to tell us how things are looking on our streets this morning. Hello, Sieska.
Good morning. This morning's traffic report, we're coming to you live from Collins Avenue, and this morning we're talking speed. It's something that police officers from the traffic division cannot stress enough. They do not want you to exceed the speed limit, and here to talk about that is Corporal Decore Barr from the traffic division. Good morning, Corporal Barr. How are you, and happy Monday?
Good morning, Sieska. Good morning, Bahamas.
Now, what do you want to remind motorists of as it relates to speed?
Well, we want to always remind the motorists to drive within the speed limits. Speed limits, the signs, if you don't know what it is, the signs are always erected or marked on the street in every area.
So for those of us that want to play crazy, for lack of a better term, Corporal Barr, just remind us of those speed limits.
On the inner city, the speed limit is for cars are 35 miles per hour. Buses, trucks, bigger vehicles are 25 miles per hour. On the outskirts, the John F. Kennedy Drive, the speed limit in some areas of that highway it would be 45 miles per hour, and coming closer to the roundabouts in that western district, it would be 30 miles per hour. Also, if you don't see a sign or the marking on the street, we don't want to take it upon ourselves to say that there's no speed limit and create our own. We find that we caught persons doing speeds up to 78 miles per hour, 81 miles per hour. I think the top speed that we clocked someone with. And if, like I said, if the sign is not there, 30 miles per hour would be the speed limit.
Okay, now Corporal Barr, also just a reminder for those that will be traveling through the school zones as they drop off their children this morning and pick them up later this afternoon.
School zones, the speed limit is 15 miles per hour. That's between 7:45 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. and then 2:45 p.m. and 4:15 p.m.
Okay, now what else do you want motorists to know in terms of, even if you are adhering to the speed limit, there may be others that are not. So there are certain things that can protect us. Am I correct?
Yes. We'd always want to encourage you to things that we've been encouraging you to do all for the entire 2018 going into the 2019 year, and that's do nothing else while operating a motor vehicle. Always be secured by a seatbelt. Pay special attention to what's happening on the streets around you, and even more attention to pedestrians.
All right. And Corporal Barr, were there any incidents overnight that or over the weekend that we should be aware of heading into today and the rest of the week?
We had a number of traffic accidents reported, none with serious injuries, one or two with minor injuries, but any accident that could be avoided is one too many.
All right, thank you so much. That was Corporal Decore Barr from the Traffic Division, just reminding us about speed because, you know, we may be running a few minutes late. It is a Monday morning. We're getting back into the groove of things. And so we may be going a little too fast, but adhere to the speed limit. Arrive alive. Back to you in the studio, LaDawn.
Thanks a lot, Sieska. Now on to our top story this morning. Several audio conversations about alleged corruption at the 2018 Boxing Day Junkanoo Parade here in the capital that recently went viral prompted an emergency meeting between the officials of the Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence and the community at large. Altavis Munnings reports.
Strong concerns raised by a representative from every Junkanoo group in New Providence that attended the Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence's emergency meeting Saturday night on allegations of corruption in the 2018 Boxing Day Junkanoo Parade. At issue is a recorded telephone conversation reportedly between a Junkanoo judge and a senior member of the Junkanoo community that suggests some type of bribe was allegedly made to judges to give points to the costume of one group as opposed to another.
We do not condone any corruption or dishonesty in any fashion or form.
JCNP Chairman Silbert Ferguson delivered the organization's official statement right after the emergency meeting Saturday night. He confirmed that based on the allegations that have surfaced, an active police investigation into the matter is now underway.
So you're waiting for the police's investigation to find out whether or not these allegations are true?
Well, the active investigation is on. Okay, and as soon as we have anything from those investigations, we will then make the next step. We have had this kind of rumor that has surfaced in years, but this is the first time we are actually able to reach out and touch it, and we can actually hear it. And so we will have to make every stance against this kind of activity.
The Junkanoo community also hopes this incident doesn't diminish interest in judging future Junkanoo parades.
Every judge in our system, the JCNP affords them a stipend of $75 per parade. That is all we are aware of. Any other consideration given by any other person, we have no control over that.
Bahamians everywhere eagerly anticipate watching the holiday Junkanoo parades every year, and the Junkanoo community wants that spirit of enthusiasm to continue.
The only way you can really start your new growth, you have to hit rock bottom. And it's not how you fall down, it's really how you get up. And so this body is prepared to get up and stand against what has happened.
Altavis Munnings, ZNS Network News.
Thanks a lot, Alto. Thick plumes of smoke billowed into the air last evening as police fire officials battled a blaze at the Paradise Fisheries warehouse off Mont Royal Avenue that left the building destroyed. Officer in charge of the Fire Services Department, Chief Superintendent Walter Evans, confirmed that they were notified of the blaze sometime after 8 p.m. and 2 fire trucks initially responded.
When the units got there, they met heavy flames coming from the warehouse section of that facility. All of the additional units were called out, and we had to perform an evacuation of all of the residents within a 200 feet range from where Paradise Fisheries is located. We've also had to disconnect the power supply for the well-being of persons who resided in that area. We were able to extinguish that fire after about 3 hours of battling that blaze, and as a result of that, the entire warehouse was destroyed. But we can say that the retail store of Paradise Fisheries has not been affected by this fire. That store adjoins the warehouse, and we were able to prevent the fire from heading in that direction.
Evans says he was pleased they were able to contain the flames to the warehouse and other establishments were not impacted.
The fire in the affected area was in an area which is a warehouse, a large warehouse, where there are typically no windows, several doors, and we were dealing with a fire which is on the interior of a facility, which is about 15,000 square feet. It is too early for us to determine. Investigations have begun into that, and we have had not only that, because this fire yesterday was one of 3 structural fires that we've had to contend with.
Meanwhile, Executive Chairman of the Water and Sewage Corporation, Adrian Gibson, says the corporation has long-term plans to implement a sewer system throughout New Providence and take customers off septic tanks. He admitted the initiative would be a very costly exercise and would have to be conducted in phases. Currently, Gibson says the agency is working under financial constraints.
You're looking at some $600 million, right? And this has been, we've conducted our research and our review with the IDB. For the inner city alone, it's $75 million. I spoke to this previously in previous news articles. So we are looking at those plans. Our greatest issue concerns funding.
Gibson says these plans come even as the government works to transform inner city communities where some residents lack indoor plumbing and many rely on outdoor pumps to access water.
Water and sewage basically has access in the inner cities. Some of the issue is persons being able to afford to come on the system. That's why we provide a lot of standpipes.
There are plans, as communicated by the Office of the Prime Minister, for the inner city as a part of the overall inner city development to extend water and all to everyone. But water and sewage already has its pipe infrastructure and so on in the inner city. So that's something that's already in place, and we'll be coordinating further with the Office of the Prime Minister as to any other requirements that the office might have.
The Bahamas Business Outlook is set to take place at the Bahama Resort. Marcus Lang is one of the presenters.
Other countries and other jurisdictions, specialty areas are legislated to be maintained a certain way. In New York now, there's areas where persons that own high-rise buildings and those areas are dilapidated, they're now being made to pay fines when those buildings aren't brought up to scratch or when those buildings aren't utilized, even if it's not for the original use, be made use for someone else. Other countries actually they would seize the building and sell it to someone to do something that's planned for that area. The Downtown Nassau Partnership is a great organization, has great plans for downtown, but they can't force people to do things with their properties.
Meanwhile, Creative Arts Director John Cox is also expected to be a presenter at this year's conference at the Bahama Resort.
Again, it needs to be directed, and there needs to be incentives for people to do that. Those owners need to, or may consider, collaborating with a body of individuals, creatives, and certain entrepreneurial people who want to do restaurants and coffee shops and little bars and things like that to activate the space, because downtown's embarrassing.
Stay close, we've got more news right after this. You're watching The Morning Edition. Welcome back to The Morning Edition. Minister of Health, Dr. the Honorable Dwayne Sands, giving ZNS News an update on the H1N1 influenza.
We have flu vaccines available throughout, and as is often the case, there remains a reluctance of Bahamians to take up the flu vaccine. It is the only effective means of preventing influenza. Influenza is still a very serious problem and can be deadly, as we've seen. You cannot get the flu from a flu vaccine. It doesn't make you any less attractive. It doesn't change your health standing. And I would strongly encourage every person older than 6 months, and particularly those people in high-risk groups, to be vaccinated.
January comes with stress for many people, but just how do you deal with it? Charles Fisher reports.
Yes, it's the first month of the year. We want to start off on the right foot. And with it comes the most stress. That coming from therapist Wayne Harrison Thompson.
January is usually the start of a brand new year. I think a lot of people tend to get too excited when it comes to the festive season. We're cooking meats that we don't normally cook. We're inviting people over. We have a lot of bills, gifts that we want to get for family and friends. We forget that we still have to pay our light bill in January. We forget that we still have that car note, that mortgage, that rent that is due. And for that reason, a lot of people get too caught up not thinking long term.
What happens in January sometimes may be a carryover effect from the previous year.
You know, a lot of times we don't add words to what it is we're feeling internally. And so when those moments come, like January, we're just reacting to what's been going on inside of us for such a long time. But the truth is, the people around us may not be privy to that. And so we need to have more conversations. Don't be afraid to say that money is tight. Don't be afraid to say that we're going to have to change some things that we don't usually change in this family. But you got to have those discussions.
And what about those New Year's resolutions we like to make?
It's trendy. Everybody on January 1st is talking about things they would like to do just because everybody is talking about it, right? But you find that people don't usually stick with their resolutions beyond 2 to 3 weeks. And the reason for that is because we don't really internalize change as a real thing. We do it because it's popular. It's natural to do this when you find that January rolls around. But I think if someone had to make a resolution, it would be to follow through with last year's resolutions and the year before that. Because let's be honest, I don't think a lot of us do a good job sticking through with what our resolutions are because we don't put in place a process to keep ourselves accountable to those goals.
Coming up on Tuesday, we discuss payday stress. For the ZNS News Network, I'm Charles Fisher.
Thanks a lot, Fisher. Meanwhile, former politician and woman of the gospel Cynthia Mother Pratt gave ZNS News an update on her movie and film earlier this week.
One of the persons who really, the author, the writer of the book, took ill. And he had a brain tumor. And so that kind of caused us to hold back a little bit because he's fighting for his life. We can't talk about the movie when someone is fighting for their life. But things are going very well. The authors, of course, they are writing a few other books from this book that will be launched in Miami. They spoke to me this morning to say that the book will be ready for the end of January, and they're going to launch it in Miami so that we're able to spread the good news about us as a people.
That's a good initiative there for Cynthia Mother Pratt.
I'm looking forward to that one movie I'll be going to see. Don't normally go to the movies, but I'll go see that one.
What's coming up in sports?
Well, it was a busy weekend for NFL football, and like you see from my eyes, it was up all day yesterday. But we're going to talk about some track and field locally, and we're also going to talk about some basketball that happened on the weekend. Baseball as well, so it was a busy weekend for the sports department. Hopefully we can get some days off this week.
I don't think that's going to happen. That story and more ahead in sports.
Good Monday morning to all. It was a busy weekend for baseball youngsters. Freedom Farm and the Junior Baseball League of Nassau opening their season at their respective fields and both celebrating 30 years this year. So you know their seasons are going to be very exciting.
We're very excited about what we have going on this year, and we look forward to all the activities, all the games, and all the fun at the field.
It's 30 years in existence, and we ask everybody to just give us their blessing and pray for the ongoing of this program, and so that we can continue to develop our kids in sports.
Now, while they were swinging the bats over at Freedom Farm, they were running at the track. Thomas A. Robinson Track and Field Stadium was the place to be for the T-Bird Flyers Track and Field Classic. Lots of athletes making the Carifta qualifying standard. The Carifta set for later on this year in the Cayman Islands. Foster Dorset, he's the man in charge of the Flyers, and he liked what he saw.
As a coach, the athlete really performed for the first week of the year. I was impressed with the number of athletes from the other clubs. So that means the coaches are really working. The athletes are really focused, and I'm kind of pleased, and like I said, I was impressed with the performance of the athletes. What I might do for the future, probably cut down on the number of events. I mean, I would like to, but I would need to cut down on the number of events. And we would be playing with the idea of having it on a Saturday and Sunday. We'll see how that works. The number of coaches are for that, to have it on a Saturday and Sunday instead of Friday evening and Saturday afternoon, probably 2 afternoons, Saturday and Sunday. So we look at that possibility next year.
That will be something new. Looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to a great week ahead. Thanks for watching.
In our final look at weather, we have a very dry front system pushing through the northwest Bahamas, but it will keep temperatures on the cool side for another few days. The forecasts are for today. We're going in for a bit of sunshine with some patchy clouds along the front boundary. High temperature today getting up to 77 degrees. And tonight we're looking at partly cloudy, 1 or 2 showers, very possible. Low temperature getting down to 68 degrees. And your extended weather forecast, temperatures in the 70s throughout the 7-day period, right into Saturday, but things will warm up just ahead of another front. On Sunday, we'll see some showers over the weekend, and then things will start to cool down once again into the early part of next week. LaDawn?
Thanks a lot, Basil. Some great weather there. And that does it for the morning edition. Thank you so much for waking up with us. Once again, I'm LaDawn Davis. Have a great day.